Resuming the debate, the question is that bill be now read a second time. Ms. Fumiha.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, Singapore has established itself as a vibrant and leading international fund management center. We have seen impressive asset under management, AUM, growth over the years. AUM has more than doubled in 5 years, from 1.6 trillion in 2012 to 3.3 trillion in 2017. As the Second Minister of Finance recapped just now, we are now home to 700 asset managers. The introduction of the Variable Capital Companies Bill, VCC in short, is timely. It further strengthens Singapore's position as a full-service international fund management center. Close to 80% of AUM managed in Singapore are still domiciled overseas. So this new corporate structure tailored for investment funds should spur co-location of fund managers and fund auxiliary services in Singapore by enabling cost economies, ease of administration, and compliance for fund managers. However, attracting funds to be domiciled in Singapore will not be an easy task. Other established fund centers such as Cayman Islands, Republic of Ireland, Luxembourg, and recently Hong Kong come with their own distinct history and value propositions, offering a whole suite of incentives ranging from tax-free regimes, flexible legislation, accounting flexibility, and a real commitment to serving the international fund industry. Whilst the proposed Singapore VCC structure compares reasonably well against its international peers, catering to investment funds for traditional and alternative strategies, both on an open-ended and closed-ended basis, there will always be inertia to try out a new structure. You must therefore ensure Singapore's VCC framework offers a unique value proposition. We must actively promote the structure to drive adoption and consider incentives that may be necessary to spur action amongst fund managers. So, Deputy Speaker, sir, to overcome the inertia to adopt the VCC structure, including cost hurdles for adoption, the government should consider some sweeteners, perhaps in the form of cost subsidies when setting up a VCC structure in Singapore. Conversions to VCC should be allowed to take place with no Singapore tax consequences and should be granted automatically to encourage transition to VCC. Redomiciliation incentives could also be provided to encourage fund managers to with funds domiciled in offshore jurisdictions to co-locate fund domiciliation with their fund management activities in Singapore. I think the government should work closely with local champions such as Diamond Asia, Lion Global Investors to lead the way for adoption of VCC for new funds. We should drive adoption starting from home base and support early adopters with early bird incentive. The proposed framework allows funds domiciled overseas to be re-domiciled in Singapore as VCCs by registration with ACRA. However, the industry has fed back that more needs to be done to refine policies to better support the conversion of local funds to VCC. Many industry players find the process for converting existing domestic collective investment structures into VCC cumbersome. Rightly or wrongly, some actually feel that restructuring of local funds as VCC appears more difficult than redomiciliation. Sir, being a relatively latecomer, we should define and design our VCC framework with a distinct advantage to serve the rapidly growing alternative sector AUM, comprising hedge funds, venture capital, private equity, real estate, and infrastructure. This would be an excellent window to establish ourselves as a vibrant financing hub to support the next generation of Asian growth companies. With 2/3 of Singapore's AUM invested in Asia-Pacific and 40% in ASEAN, the VCC framework should be operationalized to enable us to compete strongly as a choice location for setting up fund management operations focused on investments in Asia and ASEAN. This will require nuanced understanding of the web of varied local regulations and international tax developments. For example, one of the issues raised by the industry is the legal entity of sub-funds under VCC umbrella entity. Even with safeguards put in place, certificate of residence is required for claiming tax benefits. The lack of a legal entity status of sub-funds could potentially hinder fund managers to flexibly structure an umbrella entity with multiple sub-funds with distinct investment objectives. Sir, the very purpose of VCC structure is tailored for investment funds and dispenses with aspects of existing company law that are not conducive to investment funds. Thus, one of the VCC selling points is its flexibility to pay dividends and redeem shares versus companies with fixed capital. The notion of variable capital provisions is therefore critical to the operations of an investment fund. Yet, the closure of a VCC sub-fund. I applaud MAS for structuring VCC with a robust governance and oversight framework. Unlike other domiciliation centers, VCC in Singapore requires the appointment of a fund manager regulated by MAS to be based here in Singapore and subject to anti-money laundering obligations in line with international standards. This will help prevent VCC from being abused for unlawful purposes and prevent Singapore from becoming just an offshore center without actual investment management activities conducted in Singapore. Mr. Speaker, sir, Singapore's success in positioning itself as a fund domiciliation hub is expected to create 1,000 new jobs in the first 2 years of introduction for auxiliary service providers. This will include lawyers, fund administrators, fund custodians, tax professionals and accountants, all attractive jobs for Singaporeans. We must invest strongly to nurture a vibrant local ecosystem of fund service providers to enhance the sophistication of our overall system for the long term. We must ensure that expertise required to operate VCC framework does not constrain our growth. One particular area that the industry has concerns about is the availability of qualified professionals, including fund directors. I would like to ask the Minister to elaborate on the talent development plans being developed in conjunction with the VCC framework. In conclusion, the proposed VCC framework, coupled with Singapore's strong reputation for political and economic stability, transparency, sound and predictable rules and regulations, will position Singapore well as a compelling hub for both fund management and domiciliation activities. It could be a game changer for asset management in Asia Pacific. I support the bill.